So these are the 7 things that I wish I knew when I started my business 10 years ago now this year. These are the things that if I had a time machine I would go back and tell my younger self, because these tips can help newer businesses and old businesses. I'm Dominic from Glide Cleaning. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Tip number 1 that I would give myself. Winter ends. Winter is hard. It really sorts the men from the boys because we're working outside most of the time and we have to deal with snow, rain, cold weather, all these things that you wouldn't have to deal with if you were inside. And even customers, when you get after Christmas, they may be coming up with every excuse under the sun to try and save a bit of money, and they may be skipping for all different kinds of reasons. And winter is hard. I normally get to January or February nearly every year and I think, oh, when is it going to end? But my tip to my younger self 10 years ago, winter does end. And after winter comes spring, which is the best time for exterior cleaning because you've got so many services that you can offer and customers and clients really want those services and it's so busy. So tip number 1 to myself, survive the winter. It always ends. Tip number 2 that I would give myself when I was starting my business, I wish I knew this. Never ever let your van freeze up. Sometimes you think, maybe when you're new, oh, it won't freeze that bad overnight. I'm sure I can fix it. But the amount of times when I was new, I would be there with a hairdryer trying to defrost my van that was solid ice. And having very limited success, I would waste an afternoon and a morning and not get started till the afternoon. The key thing is don't let it freeze, because if you can put a heater in overnight, that saves a world of problems the next morning. That is a definite key tip I wish I had learned. Tip number 3 would be definitely knowing how to fix things and also carrying spare parts. The amount of times things break when you're window cleaning because your van is exposed to the elements, there's water in there, things break quite often. And you need to know how to fix that, otherwise you can lose work. I remember one time my van froze and the little strainer cap broke into 2 under the freeze. And I couldn't get a new one for a couple of days. So I lost that time working just with this very small little bit of plastic that was hindering me from working. If I had spares, I could have just chucked one on and away I went. Really important to have spares, but also know how to fix it. 10 years ago when I started my business, pretty much all water-fed window cleaning was made by DIY systems. You buy a tank, a controller, and a pump and a battery, and then you'd have to work out how all of those things go together. Now many window cleaning businesses start up or they buy ready-made systems, which is fantastic, but those things still may need maintenance. I see many window cleaners now that don't know what the codes on the controller are. They don't know what DE stands for, PS stands for, or even BAT. Those are really simple things that you need to know how to fix on the fly, because otherwise that can affect a day's work or maybe even more. So tip number 3 is definitely knowing how to fix things and carrying those spare parts ready to fix it. Tip number 4, always be professional. There is a market for being professional, having uniform, assigned van and carrying yourself like a professional. That is really important, not only for what you portray to the client, but how you feel about yourself. You've got to treat yourself, respect yourself as a professional. But you always have to be professional. And sometimes you may get a client that really gets under your skin. I remember one client in particular, and this was the one time that I didn't collect on that invoice, that I lost out on that money. I was cleaning windows and the neighbour comes along, how much to clean mine? 18 quid, went and did the job. They said they'd pay online, left them the details. Month go by, they haven't paid. I didn't have any details because it was a in the street job, so I didn't have a number that I could call them up with that I would do normally. So I went round and I knocked on the door and I spoke to the lady and I said, oh, I haven't actually received your invoice. And she said, oh, I thought I paid. I obviously haven't. I will pay it. And this went on a couple more times. I was making this journey out to this customer, knocking on her door saying, can you pay please? And she'd say, oh, I thought I paid, but I haven't. She was trying to get out of paying. And I ended up losing my professionalism. And I said to her, look, this is a joke. I keep coming out here. I'm wasting my time, money. Can you just pay? It's a bit of a joke. I lost my professionalism. I got a message back from her later that day saying because I was rude, that she would not be paying the invoice. There was no evidence that I had cleaned her windows. She did not want to pay that invoice. I had to let that one go because I learned so much from that. Because I lost my professionalism, she had some sort of moral high ground to be able to not pay that invoice. That was what she wanted. She either wanted me to either stop turning up at her door or basically to lose her cool so she can have some moral high ground. She can turn to her friends and say, you know that window cleaner? I didn't pay him because he was rude. I was right in not paying him, even though she should have paid. But the point was, if I'd remained professional, even when I really wanted to lose my cool, she would have paid on that invoice. And I found that was a very important lesson that I've carried through my business now. So my tip to my younger self would definitely be, always be professional, even when you meet those people that get under your skin. Tip number 5, always write down your quotes. Now this can be difficult. Maybe you've gone to quote in person and you're speaking to that person and that client may want a price really quickly. They want to know ASAP. But if you give them a verbal price, that can be really difficult. Number one, you haven't really thought it all through, have you? Sometimes you feel under pressure to give a price. When you go away and drive off in the van, you may think about it and go, actually, it should be less, I really want that job, or it should be more, it's actually going to be a real pain, that job. I don't really want that job. But if you give them a verbal price, sometimes people take that as a reason to negotiate because it's less professional than a written price. And it's really frustrating. I know when I started my business, I was young. People would see a young person turn up and I would say £20 please, and they go, £15, you're young, you don't need the money, basically. And I'm thinking, I haven't prepared for a negotiation here. £20 is fair. I haven't got any wriggle room. I'm not on a market bartering here. But the point was, if I'd say, I'll email you a quote later, send that £20, they wouldn't negotiate with that because that is a written professional quote. Another reason is sometimes people mishear you. I remember one job they said, how much for in and out? I said £20 for inside, £20 for outsides and £30 for insides. In my mind thinking £50. They heard £30 for in and outside. And it was a really awkward discussion when the penny dropped for them, that they weren't paying £30 for an internal annex clean, one-off clean. So it's really important to be able to get that written down. Also to have terms, because there are people out there who are trying to catch you out. They're trying to get things for free, basically. And if you can put terms in there, maybe with your window cleaning, saying we don't remove stains, hard water stain removal is an add-on service, builders cleans are an add-on service, with your gutter work. So occasionally you come across a person who's like, well, you haven't washed the insides. And you say, no, I emptied it. I don't need to wash it visually because it will be dirty within a day. Stuff like that, having those terms written down on your quote, make it professional and save a lot of aggro. I wish I could pass that quote on to my younger self. Always write down your quotes. Number 6, what to do when you have non-payers. Send a written letter in the post. You will come across people who think if they ghost you, ignore your messages, ignore your calls, ignore your emails, that you will just go, it's not worth my time, I'll let them have it. They've already got rid of you in their head. They don't think that they have to pay this invoice. There's no benefit for them to paying this invoice. The way to break that is with a physical, professional letter delivered in the post. And you can find a template online with asking for the invoice in a professional manner. If you send that in the post, it arrives at their house, it breaks that mental barrier that you actually have their address and that you're actually a professional, serious business and you're willing to take steps to collect that invoice. And I have never had anyone not pay an invoice when I have sent a professional written letter. Okay, tip number 7. This is a real big one, I think. Small polls. When I started out, you think, I want a big poll so I can reach more windows and collect more jobs and get more clients, and I can reach all my windows with one poll. And some people do that, and everyone has their own business. But the bigger the poll, it is a lot heavier. And you think about it, because they're telescopic. Each section is bigger than the last section. So each section you add on is exponentially heavier. So if you have a 18-foot pole, an 18-foot pole will get to nearly all 2-storey, even above a conservatory. It will get to most things an 18-foot pole. An 18-foot SLX from Gardner is less than a kilogram. But if you were to double it in length, in size and get a 35-foot pole, it more than doubles in weight. It's 2.2 kilograms, and again 47 foot, 3.4 kilograms. And it doesn't sound like much, but when I started out I really underestimated how beneficial having a light small pole for the majority of my work, because number one, I'm less tired. Number two, further down the line, repetitive strain injuries, back problems, shoulder pain are a real thing to be of concern. The lighter the pole, that really does help. But also just how much faster I am with a smaller pole than a bigger pole. It's a lot easier, and you earn that money back. It's around £200 for a small light pole, carbon pole, 18, 22 foot, around the £200 mark for a nice professional one. You will earn that money back quite quickly by just how many more jobs that you can fit in. So, tip number 7, small poles, really and important. So those are the 7 tips that, if I could think of right now off the top of my head, I would like to pop in a time machine somehow, send a letter, send a video back to my younger self starting my business 10 years ago, because it would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of hassle knowing those tips. Maybe you've got some more tips that you'd like to give to your younger self about how you would do things differently in your business. Write them down in the comments. It'd be great to hear what more things. There's definitely things I've missed out, isn't there? And I'll probably have to do a follow-up video of 7 more things that I wish I could give to my younger self. But there are 7 things that I wish that I could tell my younger self when I was starting my business 10 years ago. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm Dominic, and we are Glide Cleaning Limited.